Welcome to Try Friend Heroes, the Legend of Zelda podcast. I'm Ellen.
I'm Kayla.
I'm Cosm.
And today we're discussing the third installment of the Legend of Zelda series, The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past.
Oh.
Woo!
Oh, okay.
Huh?
That's what we used to do, right? We'd say the chapters and cheer.
Yeah, we definitely cheered every
okay.
time, no matter what, even if it was sad.
Rule number 1, always woo.
Yeah. Well, I was always excited to discuss it, even if it was sad. In this game, a wizard named Agahnim. Anyone have any good creative pronunciations for some of these names? Because I'm scared.
No, I was just thinking today about how I don't actually know, officially how to pronounce a lot of Zelda words, since there's not much voice acting in the series.
That's true. Not until, the blood moon rises.
I literally Googled it. I was like,
again.
am I pronouncing Cuckoo right?
A good question. I've never thought about it. Also, we never discussed Zelda before, to this extent.
Yeah.
Other than just being yeah, that game was fun. You should play that one. And or making jokes, like Link in his jorts in Breath of the Wild. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so in this game, a wizard named Agahnim has captured Princess Zelda and daughters descended from the Seven Sages. Using their power, he plans to open a gate between our world, the Light World, and the Dark World. This game was released for Super Famicom in Japan in 1991, and for Super Nintendo outside of Japan in 1992, and it was pretty well received by critics at the time, and it's still considered a great game today. Some people it's their favorite game, based on what I was reading on Reddit.
Yeah, it shows up in a lot of best game ever lists still.
It is a really good game. I agree with that. But we will talk about it. And to date, it's sold 4.6 million copies worldwide, which is more than Zelda 2, but less than Zelda 1. Just for yeah. Well, we haven't gotten to the real kicker yet, which I think was Ocarina of Time and Breath of the Wild. Those were the two highest. So
I think we mentioned that part of that might be just because of how many different releases there were.
That is true.
How do you know how many different releases of A Link to the Past there were compared to the Zelda 1?
Hold on, wait. Please hold. I thought you were going to sing the Jeopardy theme song.
No, I think I was starting there. I was like, nope, that's not hold music. That's copyright.
I sing copyrighted things on this podcast all the time. Didn't I sing something last time?
I don't think our poor imitations of sounds with our mouths counts as copyright infringement.
Okay, so Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past was released for SNES. And then it was released for Stellaview, which was an attachment to the Super Famicom. I don't know exactly why. I don't know exactly what it is. I definitely didn't look it up. Sorry.
I think you could connect to the internet and get special internet
Connect
things.
to the internet?
Wild.
It had according to this, it had 1 megabyte of ROM and 512 kilobytes of RAM, y'all. You're I don't know. We may have grown up in the 90s, but that doesn't mean I know shit about old computers. And then it was re-released for Game Boy Advance with 4 swords, which is the version that I played. I think it's the version that Kayla played also.
Me too.
Yeah. And then it was re-released for virtual consoles, so the Wii, Wii U, 3DS, and Switch Online virtual consoles.
Okay.
And it seems like there's a connection between this game and 4 Swords for the Game Boy, which was cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you would unlock an extra dungeon if you finished 4 Swords.
Mm-hmm.
It also
which I did
said,
not do.
after I got the Master Sword, it was now you can use the Master Sword in 4 Swords. And I was like, wow, that's cool. I wasn't playing that. So I guess there's a connection. But we're planning to play 4 Swords and 4 Swords Adventures at a much, much later time, a year from now, probably.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about, we can explore that then. But yeah, there seems to be a connection, which is pretty cool. And apparently the port, people say that the port to Game Boy Advance is pretty good. It's pretty similar to the SNES version.
Mm-hmm. You do get Ocarina of Time Link screaming in your ear the whole time, though, which is interesting.
Ha? Is that what you're talking about?
Yep.
Yeah.
They didn't have that in the SNES version?
No, those are taken straight from Ocarina of Time.
I noticed that this game, the Game Boy Advance game, came out in 2002/2003. You know what other game came out in 2002/2003? Wind Waker. So this is the time period in which we're talking about this game came out. So I'm not surprised that they took the effects out of Ocarina of Time. That's hilarious. I even watched the playthrough and I didn't notice that, but I guess I just was really paying attention to other things and not the spinny sound effects.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, I mean, it fades out of your notice pretty quickly when you're playing it.
I've just gotten used to Link screaming.
But I just, like, the first couple times I swung the sword, it's like, ha, ha, ha. I'm like, I don't think that was in the original.
I didn't realize that came from Ocarina of Time because I've only played a little bit of it. But like the game that I'm most familiar with is Wind Waker, where he also screams all the time. So
I did enjoy the scream when he goes plummeting down the holes, though. It was entertaining.
it like fades away. There's also a little
Yeah.
like sparkle, just like Team Rocket blasting off, like every time he falls, which was pretty great. Yeah. Anyway, last time we talked about like the gameplay and music and visuals first, but this time I thought we would switch it up and talk about story first. So now I'm going to seamlessly transition to Kayla to talk about the story. Over to you.
Me.
Yeah, that's you. See, a seamless transition.
Very seamless. No seams at all.
Not a seam to be found. I feel like this feels like deja vu.
So yeah, seamlessly, story.
Let's do it.
This game has, like, a story that's actually in the game.
Right?
Yes.
There's still a lot of extra detail in the instruction booklet, but you can get the gist from the game itself.
It has like quite the story outside in the booklet. But it had yes, it was easy to understand in the game.
Yep. So, long ago, the three gods of power, wisdom, and courage descended from the heavens to create the world. When they were done, they left behind the Triforce as a symbol of their strength and to guide life in this new world. Yes, thank you. The Triforce was hidden in a secret golden land, but it called out to those with exceptional power, wisdom, and courage, seeking someone worthy to claim it. This all passed into myth and legend, but people still search for the Triforce, and over time, that desire turned to sheer greed and lust for power, especially as one legend told of the Triforce's ability to grant its holders wishes. One day, a gang of thieves skilled in magic managed to stumble into the Golden Land and saw the Triforce there. They immediately began to fight each other over it, and eventually their leader, Ganondorf, stood triumphant. He held the Triforce in his hands and made his wish. Over time, a dark power began to flow from the Golden Land, and many disasters struck Hyrule. The king ordered the 7 sages and the knights of the realm to seal the entrance to the corrupted Golden Land. The knights fought a long and deadly war against Ganon's army, and they managed to buy enough time for the sages to create their magical seal. Hyrule healed and was peaceful and prosperous for many centuries, until suddenly a new wave of disasters began to strike the land once again. A strange wizard named Agahnim appeared and quelled the disasters, and he was rewarded with a place of honor in the palace. But soon rumors began to spread of kidnappings and strange experiments in the castle tower. The game begins with our hero, Link, asleep in bed, as he often is, when the voice of Princess Zelda telepathically reaches out to him to say she's being held captive in the castle dungeon and to plead for his help. Link wakes to find his uncle gearing up for battle and leaving the house, telling him to stay inside. Link of course disobeys and heads to the castle. He finds his uncle mortally wounded and takes up his sword and shield. He rescues Zelda, taking her to a sanctuary outside the castle. There, a sage tells him that Agahnim has been kidnapping the descendants of the original 7 sages and using their power to break the seal on the corrupted Golden Land, and he must be stopped to prevent Ganon from escaping. Thus, Link is sent on his classic Legend of Zelda journey of visiting dungeons, collecting sacred shiny objects, gaining the Master Sword, and defeating evil.
Woo!
Yeah,
Evil.
story.
Yeah, story.
It's kind of interesting because it's sort of the first example of kind of the classic Zelda story structure, where you're like sent on a shorter quest to do these things and defeat evil, but that doesn't work, and some twist happens, and then the rest of the game opens up.
Yep.
It's like you have to collect 3 things to prove yourself, and then do the actual collection, which is
Yeah, they don't all
definitely
do that, but
repeated
it's fairly common.
in some of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ganon was just the bad guy, definitely in Zelda 1. Wasn't there somebody else in Zelda 2? I already forgot.
Well, they
Yeah,
were
it was
trying
a
to
wizard.
resurrect Ganon
Yeah.
Oh, right,
in
right.
Zelda 2 with the blood of Link or whatever.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's right. All the creatures needed to collect his blood.
Yeah.
This is the first time they mentioned like Ganondorf.
Yeah, like we've got Link, Zelda, and Ganon again, our classic trio. They're all, well, I guess Ganon's always the same, but it's a new Link and a new Zelda compared to the previous games. And yeah, this is Ganon only appears on screen in his pig demon form, but this is like the first time we get any hint that he wasn't always like that.
Because he was a thief.
Yep.
And I think the implication is that since everyone like changed his form in the Darkland, that's like what he changed into when he was like in the dark world there after getting the Triforce. At least that's the implication I got from it.
Yes, I agree with that. I like that Link turns into a little bunny in the Dark World. But
Yeah.
then other people are like, I am a tree. And Ganon's like, I am a
Yeah.
pig demon.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's kind of underutilized. You're only a bunny for like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, Link has an uncle in this game. He doesn't have relatives very often, so that's kind of fun.
That's true.
And then he immediately dies.
No, he was fine. Didn't you see
It's okay. He's
the
better. He's
credits?
better at the end.
Yeah. He's like, oh, go on without me. Ugh. Then in the, like, where are they all now? Like, credits at the end. Then it's like, and my uncle was
Well, the king is
fine.
also fine, and he was like a skeleton. So I think like the wish at the end of the story made things better rather than him just surviving.
Well, supposedly, according to, like, the manual, I think, the people of Hyrule, like, the Hylians are magical. Like, they've always had access to magic. It's just that things really went downhill after Ganon took the Triforce in the, whatever, Sacred Realm. Whatever it's called.
Yeah.
I know what I'm
It's the
talking
Golden
about.
Realm, and then it
The Golden
became the
Realm.
Dark World, and then
Dark World.
later games call it the Sacred Realm. So
Yeah, I learned something interesting about this game which was that Nintendo wanted to really sanitize religion out of this game at all. So like that's why it's called it was originally called like Kamigami no Triforce. So like Triforce of the Gods. And the Golden Land was called the Sacred Realm, so that's why it's
Yeah.
later changed to that. Yeah.
I see. Interesting.
Yeah.
well, it's kind
yes.
of weird because like the early games, it's sort of like there's sort of a like Christian overlay to
Yeah.
like the religion of the world, but it doesn't make that much sense because they're talking about like 3 gods and
Yeah.
all this other stuff. I mean, there's like 3 aspects of God in certain Christian sects, but kind of a different thing.
Yes. Magic
Yeah.
number,
But then, like,
etc.
yeah, later on, it sort of became its own religion without any of that in there. So,
Yeah, it has its own. Yeah, the 3 goddesses or whatever, as you explained in your summary.
yeah,
that
they're called
create Triforce.
they're just called like the 3 gods in this game, but they're obviously like the 3 goddesses, Din, Nehru, and Furore in the later games. So that was another one. I'm not sure if I am pronouncing correctly.
I've
I
always
don't know.
called it Feror, but I don't know if that's right.
I definitely called it Naru for like at least a year, and then I was like, "That's not; those letters aren't in that order." So that took me a while. There's not a lot of official voice acting of the games that
Yeah.
like pronounces everything.
Yet.
Yeah, there was a lot of voice acting in Breath of the Wild.
Comparatively,
That I
yeah.
did.
Yeah, but they don't
Like-
say a lot of like official Zelda terms. So,
No, that's
like, I don't
true.
think anyone
Just-
says Furore or Favor or
just like the ones that we know how to pronounce, like Ganon and
Yeah.
like Link and like Hyrule
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, another interesting first in this game is the sages, specifically the 7 sages, who appear in different forms in quite a few games.
Yes.
There's often 7, but not always.
Why make things the same when you could have a crazy morphing like mysticism based religion that you can change all the time?
Yeah, I actually kind of like that as like, there's like a quote unquote official timeline, but I always like the idea that it's like, these are legends being retold and
Yeah.
across different tellings, telling different things. And
Yeah, in this game even there's like the Book of Madura or whatever where you have it like translates the old Hylian, like it's already established that like all of this stuff happened a long time ago and that you're like carrying on the line of the knights and all that other stuff. So
yeah, like this game is a prequel to Zelda 1 and 2, but it's also talking about stuff that happened centuries before this game. So like
Yeah.
it's a long and storied history of the land of Hyrule. So there'd be a few different tellings of different stories.
which game do you know which game in the official timeline is the first game?
Skyward.
Skyward
Right?
Sword?
Yeah, Skyward Sword.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. I don't remember enough about Skyward Sword to make an assessment on if I agree with that or not, I guess. But I'm just curious.
I think that makes sense. There's a few that like yeah, that one kind of has to be first, and yeah, that one kind of has to be here, and stuff like that. Then the others are kind of like, okay, I guess so.
Well, I think a lot of them are like, no, you're just like that hero in the legend. Like most of them are
Yeah.
like that, aren't they? Like
As far as bosses and enemies, none of the bosses really stood out to me as like really iconic or recurring. The Turtle Rock boss is kind of interesting because he introduces a boss concept that gets used a lot, which is like you hit the fire head with the ice weapon and the ice head with the fire weapon.
Yeah, I definitely thought like the ice rod and like the fire rod would be used for like there would be like a fire that you would have to use like the ice one with or something, and there wasn't so much. Like there was a couple enemies you could use them with that were like I felt like it was effective, but for the most part it like wasn't very specialized, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I have an opinion on the amount and utilization of the items in this game, but I'll save that for later.
There's a lot of items. And a lot of things you just have to hit with the sword. Is that your opinion?
Basically.
Well, we can talk about that later.
It's
but
like the amount of use does not justify the amount of items.
Yeah, that's fair.
But for enemies, we got a lot of recurring ones from the previous two games. And then there's a lot that really only occur in this game and A Link Between Worlds. A couple other outliers. But for ones that are first introduced here and we see in subsequent games, we've got the Pose, which are, little ghosts with the lanterns. High Nox, which has also had a resurgence along with the Lionel in Breath of the Wild, the Cyclops dudes.
They throw like bombs, and I was like, I didn't realize that was a Hinox or Hinox or whatever at first.
Yeah.
And then I looked it up. I was looking up something else, and I was like, oh, it is them. Oh, I see. Yeah. They have quite a different form. Not like the Lionels were pretty like similar, I think, in Zelda 1 compared to like Breath of the Wild. But yeah, the Hinox, not so much. Slightly different.
The Lionel show up in this game too.
Yes.
Then we got the Beamos, which are those annoying statues that shoot lasers at you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I remember them
first
from
appearance.
Wind Waker for sure.
Yeah.
I was like, not these. Why this?
Yeah. Interestingly, this is the first appearance of a Chain Chomp in the Zelda series. I always thought it was Link's Awakening, but but they're here.
Saw some nice like Mario portraits in the Kakariko village also, I noticed.
Yeah.
Which is cute.
And the introduction of the deadliest enemy of the series, the Cuckoo.
Oh, yep.
I was like, hey, look, the chickums. Like the not, yeah, whatever.
Yep, this is
I didn't attack them, though.
First
I
game
know
where they
better.
appear and you can slash the shit out of them with your sword and instantly regret it. So
I thought you were going to say the fucking like worm thing that knocks you off the thing in the
but fuck that guy.
one dungeon.
Yeah.
I guess you don't die, though. It's just really fucking annoying because it resets the dungeon every time. Did you see the drop wall masters? The hands that just like drop out of the ceiling? I was like, that's a nope. I also was really off-put by the things that like walk. I think they're supposed to be gorillas, but they have like a different character design in this game where you walk and they walk in like opposite directions.
Oh, yeah. They look kind of like mice.
They look like mice to me. Yeah. I didn't like that. They were like uncanny and also difficult. But mostly
they're kind of creepy. They're sort of like statue-like, but like they don't really seem alive because
Well, they only walk when you walk. It's weird.
Yeah, the one that like shoots fire at you had me puzzled for a little bit.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck are you supposed to do?
But
I happened to be reading a guide for something else, and it was like, yeah, you just like shoot and then make them walk into your arrow. And I was like, oh, a brilliant strategy. Thanks, internet. It's like, that makes so much sense that it was so much easier.
Yeah.
I'm also really happy with the amount of dinosaur-shaped enemies and bosses that continued to appear in this game, like the little like Helmos or whatever, the helmet dinosaur thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the little ones are really cute.
They were cute. They were kind of annoying, but really cute. And then like I think there was at least one boss that was kind of dinosaur-shaped. And then there was
not the Dongos? The ones that breathe fire?
They're called like Kodongos or something.
They're basically Dodongos. Yeah.
Okay.
Because they're in the same evolutionary family, probably.
Yeah, one more step and then they're like a big version that stands up on 2 feet. That's how Pokemon works, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say you just need to use like a Firestone on them or something.
But anyway, there continue to be dinosaur. I wonder how much longer there's going to be dinosaur enemies. Because I don't really remember any from later. Forever. There's no dinosaur enemies in Breath of the Wild. But there's all like dinosaur bones, so maybe they used to be there. It all makes sense. There's a lot of like floating eyeball type things in the dungeons too. There was like multiple. There was at least one dungeon like boss that was like just floating eyeballs, but there was like the one with the floating eyeballs that you had to pull things off with the hook shot. So I don't know what it is.
Its giant eye bosses.
Yes, shoot things in eyes, pull things off with the eyes, etc.
There's one boss that's like straight up a Kirby boss, like the cloud with the eye.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't realize that. I'm not familiar.
I don't know if it's meant to
with the
be, but
Kirby
it's like
world.
I think it's just the same. I think it's just a Nintendo design ethos. But
Yeah,
there's like a recurring Kirby boss. It's just a cloud with an eye in it.
sounds like a good time. Do you get, if you inhale him as Kirby, do you become a giant floating eye with clouds around you?
You can't really inhale bosses usually.
How rude.
Sorry to ruin your joke.
It's okay. I don't know anything about Kirby except that he inhales things and he's pink and fluffy. He like, not fluffy, but he like poofs around like a jellyfish. My only experience with Kirby is from Smash. That would explain a lot, right?
Yeah.
This like Zelda game also had some of the time-honored tradition of like someone following you for like half of the dungeon a couple of times, like the old man, and like there was like the fake maiden in the one dungeon. Actually, I guess it turned out to be Ganon. I think that was the last one. I remember things because I was like, "Oh, it turned out to be the wizard." Then I was like, "But wait, the wizard turned out to be Ganon." So I was like thinking about it in my head for like way too long.
Yeah, there's a few things in the Zelda series with like oh, I'm a helpless young girl in this dungeon. Please help me, and then it turns out to be the dungeon boss.
Or just like, let me come with you, and then they just like follow you around for a while, or like you need them for some reason, like you have to do the dungeon with them or whatever.
Yeah, you have to throw Medley at the wall. And
I really enjoyed that part of Wind Waker. Except Makra makes a lot of noise. He makes almost as much noise as Link swinging the sword. Just constant jingling everywhere you go.
it's to scare the birds away so he doesn't hunt all the local wildlife.
To scare the bears away so he doesn't get chased in the woods.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't talk about yet the big reveal that the wizard Ganon was pretending to be the wizard.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's like they were the same person, or he was possessing the wizard, or projecting the wizard into the light world, or...
Yeah, there was an interesting, like, one of the translations of the dialogue for one of the maidens was like, if Ganon enters the light world, there'll be chaos. But then it was like, Ganon was being the wizard, and it's like, but the wizard was in the light world, so so was he in the light world? Like,
But he obviously had to, like, he was trying to break the seal to get out, so...
Exactly. So maybe he was just projecting, because it also, I think I saw something that said, like, the wizard was like an avatar of Ganon, so maybe he was just projecting the wizard after all. Yeah. Plausible,
Yeah.
I guess.
Anyway, another recurring element of the series. Oh, it's a new main boss. Oh, wait, it's Ganon again.
It's always Ganon. I really appreciated also at the end that it was like, and then the Master Sword slept forever again. And I was like, no, it didn't. It definitely didn't.
Master Sword's like, please let me sleep. I'm so tired.
Well, apparently the Master Sword was forged just for the Knights of Hyrule to wield against evil / Ganon. So it did its job.
Did its job until it was retconned.
I enjoyed the end, like, credits, the, like, where are they now? That happened before the credits. It was so funny to me.
Okay, there's, like, important stuff, and there's just, like, vultures in the desert. And,
And they're like, okay.
and, like, the Zora are still there selling flippers.
Yeah. They expanded their business. It was a great story of entrepreneurship. And, like, the flute boy was somehow fine, but I thought he kind of, like, died. I was confused by that. Because Flute Boy was there with his, like, father in the forest again, and I was like...
He turned into a monster, and then he turned into a tree. But I think the implication I got is that Link's, like, wish at the end was to, like, undo all of the...
Could be.
Bad shit that Ganon did. So I think, like, the people who died in the Dark World or during this storyline got undeaded, so...
They got untransformed for sure. Like, because there was, like, there was a side quest with the... Or not a side quest. I guess if you wanted to upgrade the sword, there was, like, the smiths. One of them was, like, stuck in the Dark World. And Link just, like, rescues him and he's fine. So
Yeah.
maybe all the magic was just undone and the kid was fine. The flute boy was fine.
Yeah.
The bug-catching kid recovered.
It's called a flute in English, but it's definitely an
Definitely an
ocarina.
ocarina. Yes.
Yeah.
The bug-catching kid recovered, and then he later went on to become the bug catcher. Pokemon.
Okay.
Those are the important things that I took away from the cutscene. That what I just said is definitely in the cutscene for sure. That's definitely not something that I made up. That's not my own headcanon about Legend of Zelda. I thought it was interesting when they talked about the Triforce. Yeah, so like what happened was the Triforce is the collection of like the power that was left by the goddesses or whatever, the gods after they created the sacred realm, and that it doesn't know, because it's like an object, it doesn't know the difference between like good and evil, so anyone can influence the power of the sacred realm, I guess, in whatever way they want. In this story, whoever touches it, the stronger the wish, the more powerful. The Triforce's expression of that wish. So they were like, so do good, Link. Make a good wish. Don't fuck it up.
He's like, I want infinite ice cream. Like, damn it, Link.
God damn it. Why did we leave this to a child? The really funny thing, I feel like, playing all the Zelda games, but especially the ones that we've played so far, is like, they're like, you're the hero who's gonna save us, and then in the meantime I'm just like, where do I go now? How do I play this game? Like, I feel like such an idiot. And then, but then like I'm just like, oh, like, let's look over here, let's look under this rock, oh, what's this thing? And they're like, you're the hero, Link, you saved everyone. And I'm like, oh, cool, I was just attacking with my sword. Like, it's very funny to me.
So I feel whenever I play a character that has like an established reputation. It's like I'm playing like Dishonored, and it's like, you're a master assassin, and I'm like, immediately falls off a roof and dies.
Yeah, exactly. Or like, you're like, I wonder, in my case, in Legend of Zelda, you go into the boss room and you're like, I wonder if bombs work, and it's like, they don't. Get crushed. Yeah. Or whatever. Except for when I got the hook shot, and I was like, I know that I'm going to need to use this. Yeah. I know how the Zelda works. Maybe we should, how about a seamless transition to gameplay based on what I just said?
So, Game is another top-down 2D style
game.
Side-scroller? Not quite a side-scroller. Yeah. So
it did have like views, like it felt like the maps were like wider than the screen. Is that what you're trying to say? Because you kind of like move through like one section and it kind of like panned before it transitioned to the next section of the map.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you got your typical items, sword, shield. Pegasus boots make a return. Those are always fun. You got the hammer again. Bottles and fairies and potions.
Magic.
Yeah, you've got an instrument that helps you go places.
With a flying duck. A magical duck.
Yeah. I started cracking up when you summoned the duck to pursue Ganon at the
end. Oh, yeah.
I was like, wait, this is the Dark World. He can't come here. Like, how did he get here?
It's a magic duck.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, didn't that all happen in the Dark World? Plot holes. This is what I'm saying.
Oh, my goodness.
He has his own moon pearl so that he can go into the Dark World.
Yeah,
and
why
maintain
didn't he
his
turn
form.
into, like, he should have turned into something else. That would have been hilarious.
Like a flying human?
Yeah. Link turned into a bunny, so yeah, he becomes like a flying human. It's coming for you, Nintendo, with our game ideas.
Some of the interesting new arrivals are, you got some rods and wands. The fire rod and ice wand that shoot fire and ice.
I wasn't going to say that.
And then there's two other canes. The cane of Samaria, which creates a block in front of you, and the cane of Burnia, which causes a I actually don't remember what it was. Something spins around you.
One of them transforms stuff. Like, I saw in a playthrough that someone was transforming things into fairies. I was like, that's whack. Because I didn't get that far in the game.
That was the magic powder, which I think is optional.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay. No, you're right.
You get some like psychedelic mushroom from the Lost Woods and give it to the witch, and she gives you some
I had the
powder.
mushroom. Is that? Oh, I should go get it in the game. I was like, what the fuck is this
I didn't
mushroom
realize.
for?
I didn't realize it was an item at first.
Well, it's like you pick it up
like
and
I
it's
passed
like
by it, and I was like, that's an unusual piece of background decor.
Well, you pick it up and it's just like, give it to a person who wants it. And I was like, I'll eventually encounter this person. Probably
it's like, it smells like rotten fruit. And I was like, okay.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I picked it up. I gave it to the witch. And then she's like, come back later and I'll give you something. And I completely forgot that I did that. Never picked it up.
I went there all the time to buy potion because I kept dying.
You only have to go like one screen away and then come back.
Yeah. He had business. He's a hero.
I thought I tried doing that. Really?
Well, you don't talk to the witch. You have to go inside the, well, I mean, you talk to her and she says like, my assistant has it or whatever. And then inside the house, you get the magic powder.
That would have been really helpful. I would have loved to have turned things into fairies. Because as I said, I died a lot.
Oh, yeah, that game was hard.
It wasn't as hard as Zelda 2, though.
No. This was at least
It might have been as
doable,
hard, but it wasn't as punishing. Like,
Yeah.
That's fair.
like I died a lot, but it's like all you do is go back to the beginning of the dungeon rather than like all the way back to the start of the game with all your progress nullified.
By the end of most of the dungeons, I just like had memorized the exact path to get back to the boss because I would die.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, push this thing, go here, kill this thing, jump in the water, swim down this thing, climb this ladder. Like, you get to the point where you just like memorize it.
Yeah.
So you're saying items, all the items that you don't have to use.
Yeah, a lot of items that you can use, but
There was
don't have to.
also I don't think you mentioned this yet, but in addition to the magic powder, there was like the things that gave you like the medallion things. I don't remember what they were called. Yeah.
They're medallions.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, I was right. Ooh.
Yeah, there's 3 of them. The Ether Medallion, the Quake Medallion, and the Bombless Medallion. All aesthetically different. You need one of them for one of the dungeons.
Yeah, I think you need the Bombus one for one of them.
Or something.
But I don't remember which one.
Yeah.
But they all look rad. I'm just throwing
Yeah,
that
they're
out
all
there.
cool. But there wasn't enough distinction between them other than like aesthetically, and maybe like it was more effective like to use one over the other against certain enemies. But in later games you get some more like they actually differentiate themselves, which is but it was neat. They're fun. They clear the screen of a lot of the trash enemies. I found myself using them a lot.
Nice.
And then a very important item in the game especially for like overworld puzzles is the magic mirror.
Yes.
Returns you back to the beginning of a dungeon if you're in a dungeon, or takes you from the dark world to the light world.
Yes.
And leaves a spot for you to come back.
Yes.
Doesn't work the other way around though. You can't go from the light world to dark world with a mirror.
No.
Yeah. Which I think it led for some very interesting and cool puzzles, but also a little like tedious because you're like, oh, there's a thing here that I'm probably going to need the mirror for, but the way to get to the dark world is so far away, and you forget about it by then, and all that.
It was annoying that you have to go all the way back.
Yeah, I think you would have gained a lot of puzzle opportunities without losing much by making it two-way.
Yeah, it would be more convenient.
Yeah.
Because like you would say I would like want to leave. Well, there was like some puzzles where it was really easy, like the one in the water. It's not called the water temple. The one in the swamp or whatever in the dark world where you have to go and like turn the water on
Yes.
in the light world. So that one was pretty easy. But like say you wanted to like leave the dungeon in the dark world and like go get something in the light world, which I did because I would go get like potions and shit because I kept dying. So, but then you have to walk all the way back. So you have to walk to wherever and then like walk back. You can't like just go back to the dark world. It's so annoying. Unless you go to like a portal somewhere else. But if you want to go back to where the mirror was, yeah, I agree that it would be easier. Maybe there's some like memory reason why you can't.
Could be. I also found that there weren't enough portals to the dark world throughout the map. I don't know.
Even with the magic duck to take you places in the light world, it wasn't enough.
Well, because then you couldn't use the duck to go back. So like it's like, oh, I know where there's a portal, but like if I want to be in this area, where's the one that's like? Because there was every couple of screens there might be one.
There was probably like a handful.
So-
I definitely didn't count how many there were, but there's not that many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like the places the duck will take you is, I don't know, like 5 or 6 or 7 maybe. I forget. There also weren't that many.
7 or 8, something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, an important thing. This was very difficult for me. Is the game only allows you to input one direction at a time. And so if you try to like press up and like maybe like, oh, I'm gonna go to the side too, and you like slid your finger to hit both, Link would just stop moving. He wouldn't like keep going in the same direction, so he'd stop. So there'd be a lot of times where I was like, oh, I'm gonna move this way to avoid something, and he stops, and where if he just picked a direction, I would have been fine. But like, don't stay there.
Did you play it on a console or did you play on an emulator?
Emulator.
I don't know. I wonder if that had to do with the emulator. Because I feel like I could maybe move diagonally, but it was probably still inputting one at a time.
Maybe.
I don't know. But yeah, it wasn't. I mean, I struggled a lot with being turned
I
the
had
wrong
some
direction.
trouble with I had trouble with the like 4-directional combat. Like
Yeah.
you're like swinging your sword, it's not hitting because the guy's like slightly above you instead
or
of
slightly behind you.
yeah,
Or slightly
Come
too
on.
close to you.
Yes.
Oh, that was annoying.
I think we're dating ourselves in our youth at this point to say I can't
Yes.
play a D-pad game.
It's just not combat anyway. It's like
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
challenging.
And I think part of it is the hitboxes were a little like I think they tried to make it too perfect to align with the sword. So like you'd be in front of a piece of grass, or like maybe I want to try and cut two at the same time. So I was like
Oh yeah.
slightly in front of one, and the way you swing, you don't go like all the way up. So even though it's like directly in front of me, but slightly to the side, but like still like probably adjacent to like my shoulder, I still would only slice the one that's
Like right in front of you.
more in front of me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And same thing with enemies and stuff like that.
Yeah, I know the trouble with the like picking stuff up or pushing things. You had to be like directly
Yeah.
centered on them. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and the shovel. That was I think they changed it in the Game Boy Advance game.
Why,
But in
how did the shovel work in the?
So when you would shovel, you would either shovel left or right.
What?
And so if you were like looking up, he would turn like left to shovel or something. So it
that's
was
whack.
hard to sort of get to
I mean, the only time you needed it was for the flute, right?
and there was a digging game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it wasn't
They definitely
that bad.
changed stuff for the Game Boy game. It was not.
Well,
You could dig in any direction for sure.
Speaking of seamless transition to changes between the two versions, right?
Yes. They switched the. I just realized when I was looking at a photo of the of the SNES, there's 4 buttons on the Super Nintendo, but there's only 2 buttons on the Game Boy Advance, so they had to move. I was like, why would you use the R button for actions? It's because there's only 2 buttons. Anyway, go on with what you were gonna say. But I just thought
I think
it was
there's
funny.
still only one item slot though in the original, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Only one item
Seems
slot.
like I'm sure there were some spare buttons like they could have.
It didn't.
Because it's kind of annoying sometimes to switch between the one item.
Yeah.
It was. I looked at the manual, and it looked like it didn't use the shoulder buttons on the Super Nintendo. So the Super
That sounds
Nintendo,
right.
the Super Nintendo had A, B, X, and Y, and the D-pad, and like start and whatever the other one is, select, and then it had shoulder buttons, and it didn't. It looked like there weren't instructions in the manual for shoulder buttons, so I don't think it used those. But instead, it would use like X and Y for certain things that the shoulder was used for in the Game Boy Advance version.
Yeah, because later games, which with less items, will let you map like multiple items to different buttons and stuff, which is
Yeah.
nice. So it's like that would have been nice in this game with its 55 items.
Apparently, I think it was.
I was about to be like, was there really that many? No, that's an exaggeration.
I can't remember if it was Shigeru Miyamoto, but like one of the directors to the game felt like Link should always have his sword. So that's why you can't map anything else to the
Which is valid.
to the
Yeah.
button. But in
Yeah.
later games you can switch it if you really want to, I think, can't you? I forget.
A lot of them still have the sword hard coded. I don't know if
Yeah.
one or two of them can let you change it, but
We'll find out.
I know in like
won't we?
We will.
You know in.
like Wind Waker has the sword hard coded to the B, but you can use the like X and Y and A button and stuff.
Yeah.
Or R button. I think the A is for like your special moves and stuff.
Yeah, A is for parry, isn't it? That's the big green one.
Right.
And then
yeah.
you can use the X and Y, which are the little ones on the top of the A, and then you can use the R. The purple R, not
Yeah.
the gray R.
Yeah.
ZR. I remember.
Yeah, I guess that's the Z button. So
I don't remember
on the
what it's
GameCube, I guess that
called.
was the Z button.
I think it is.
Yeah, the purple one's the Z button, and then,
And then
there's the
R
and L
and
button.
but it is on the top, isn't it? Yeah, it's on the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the top.
But there's only one. Is there ZL and
Yeah.
ZR? I don't remember.
Yeah.
For the GameCube,
No, I think
there
there's
was
only one on the
one.
right
Yeah.
side of the controller. Yeah,
It's a very strange decision,
It's a
but
you gotta love Nintendo
Great.
and their controllers.
I love the GameCube controller.
I actually really like the GameCube
Yeah.
controller.
It was my favorite one because I had tiny hands. Everything Nintendo makes is great for tiny hands.
so changes. So seamless the transition.
Yeah.
So a majority of the changes are just quality of life upgrades. Like when your max items for rubies, bombs, and arrows, it'll change color to indicate that you have the max.
Yes.
They let you cut down signs
Yes.
with your sword. They changed some translations.
Did anyone else repeatedly try to read signs, but they were at the side of the sign and they accidentally like
Broke
picked it up and then they're like, God damn it.
I definitely did that once, but I mostly read them. I was mostly fine with it.
They added, as we mentioned, like an extra dungeon for completing 4 swords. They added a voice effect for Link. They changed the ice palace to make it easier in the
Really?
Game Boy Advance.
Because I saw a lot of people complaining about that, and I was like, I don't think that was that hard. But
So this was you had to push a block from one floor down a hole to the floor below.
It's like, a Pokemon strength puzzle.
yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay. No, this is saying that there's an all new dungeon that you can get into when you've beaten Four Swords. I read that as you get like all new dungeons.
Oh,
I thought
no,
maybe
no.
like a new game plus, but no, it's just one dungeon. Okay, that makes sense.
Exciting.
One of the best changes, also quality of life, but you guys didn't have to suffer this. If you go into the pause menu and you scroll through the items, like up takes you up, left takes you left, right takes you right, right?
Uh-huh.
When you hover over the bottle, there's only one bottle icon in the pause menu in the
Oh,
SNES.
yes.
So then it brings you to a menu of which bottle do you want. So now you press up and down, and it doesn't matter if you're in the top of the list or not, it will not move you up. You have to press left or right to get to a different
What?
item, and then you get control of your cursor, like full control back. So there'd be,
That's
and
wild.
I only had one bottle, and there'd be times where I'm like, I'm trying to just get to another item. Come on. Oh, right. Okay. I had to press a different, but then also because like the when you have very few items, it like jumps you all the way over an item all the way across
The
some of the
mushroom.
others.
Yes.
Yeah, or something, and then you have to like you press up, and that takes you like to a completely different place, and it's just.
Yeah, a pain.
Yeah, the menu's not great, but
Yeah,
what can you do?
yeah. The Game Boy Advance version just has the bottles on the menu, as you said. It was easy to access.
Also, playing with the SNES, the only spawn point you had was the top of the pyramid.
Really?
Yes. So if you die, that's where you go. If you save and quit, that's where you go.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, so they added saved place in the Dark World for the Game Boy. Okay.
And I think Link's house and
So all the save points were added, is what you're saying?
yes.
Because in the
Yep.
Game Boy version, you can in the Light World, it's like Link's house, the last save place, and the Sanctuary.
Actually, you know what? I think if you were in Light World, you would spawn at Link's house.
That makes sense.
Dark World Pyramid, and then so you got the Sanctuary and your saved place,
Yeah.
which
Convenient.
yeah.
So you're saying that if you stop playing the game, you would have to go all the way back to the dungeon where you were?
Yes.
Oh, that's annoying.
Believe so. I always quick saved because I didn't feel like
That's true.
dealing
You had
with
an
saving
emulator,
and all that.
so you also
Yeah.
cheated just like us, is what I'm hearing.
A little bit. I didn't have to suffer through that at least.
Like,
Yes.
if you turn it off in a dungeon, if you loaded it at like the saved place and your saved place was a dungeon, it would be the start of dungeon. Like, it wouldn't be like
Yeah.
exactly where you saved anyway. So
Yeah, but that's pretty typical of Zelda games.
it's typical. Also, it's typical of like SNES and like NES games. Like, I anticipated not having immaculate save places. I'll say because I think that's common. Yeah. The dungeons. I thought the enemies were kind of repetitive after a while, but like the concepts were kind of cool, like falling through the dungeon holes and stuff.
I have some strong thoughts about that.
They don't sound good.
Yeah, I think there's some annoyances, but I really did like the verticality of the
Yeah.
dungeons and concepts.
It definitely is cool in concept. I think in practice,
like seeing like below you as you go above,
Yeah.
like you cross the room from above later on that you were on the ground floor earlier and
Yeah.
stuff. And
Go on with your rant.
So, well, okay. First of all, when there was a hole for you to fall into to like the next the level below you,
Yes.
you didn't actually see that level, right? It was just a black pit.
No. If it was a black pit, that's where you die. If it was like the floor, then that's how you know that it's a dungeon.
Oh.
Is that the problem that you had?
Either I missed that or that was also changed.
could have
because-
been. I don't know. I don't remember.
No, I'm pretty sure because
I don't think it was changed.
I remember seeing it. Maybe it was the emulator was bad or something. I don't know, but I remember seeing a hole, and I was like, fine, you know what? I'm gonna fall down it. And I was like, oh, I'm supposed to fall down this hole. I didn't know that. Like to me, there wasn't anything that indicated that it was safe to go down.
I wouldn't have done it. Would I? I wouldn't have done it until like you do it by accident and you're like, oh, and then also like you can see certain things. Like there was the level with the annoying boss, the one with the worm. I can't remember which one it was, where there's like a chest that's very obvious on one level, and then you are like, how the fuck do I get here? Because there's like the like, the things that go up, the blue and brown things that go up and down, and like there's like those like star tiles that you step on that like change the floor, and even if you do all that stuff, like you still can't get there. But then on the floor above, eventually you're like looking around and you're like, I bet I can fall through like this hole in the middle, and it's probably like around where that thing is. So I think that was where I realized that's like okay to fall through the floor. Or, like, you have to fall through the floor for some of them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if it was like a black floor, that's like where you fall off and die. And if you throw, you fall off and lose a heart for sure. I think there was also a later dungeon where it was kind of confusing. I was watching a playthrough because I didn't play through all the dungeons. And there was one that looked like it had like quite a lot of dark spaces, like places that didn't light up even, and like floor, and there were like enemies out there in the dark space. So like I don't know if that was the case for all the dungeons, but for sure in like the easier ones, the earlier ones it was.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they mixed it up because like early Zelda like to just be like, this rule doesn't apply this time, just because fuck you. So,
like I definitely remember seeing like one of those, like, you know, the bouncy thing. I can't remember what they are, but like when you hit them, you bounce backwards. I remember seeing one of those in one of these playthroughs this person was playing where they were like clearly like in the middle of like a dark space, and it was like, that looks like a hole. Why is that a place? But sometimes in other Zelda games there's like shadow, so it's like maybe it's just dark there. I don't know. But yeah, for the most part in the easy ones in the dungeons I played, it's like if you can see the floor, like you can't really see, like you don't see literally the floor below, but it has like
it has a
like
different texture. I'm looking at it now.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, so like you can see like a texture
Interesting.
that looks like the dungeon floor, and that's like slightly darker. But yeah, you can't like literally see what's on the layer below.
I see.
If that makes sense.
That does make sense.
Yeah, that's how you know. This is my pro tip from this game. I know I just said that earlier. I said I feel like an idiot playing Zelda. Like like they're all like, you're the hero, and I'm just like, oh, cool. The dungeons, when you figure out things in the dungeon, it does make you feel pretty like smart. I'm like, ooh, if I like hit this thing,
or really dumb, when you're like, yeah.
You're like, should I fall off here? And then you die. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I felt like this game had a lot of good like puzzles in the dungeons.
Yeah.
And not super hard.
We got a lot of Zelda classics in this game, like push statue onto switch and shoot decoration with conspicuous eye.
Open all the curtains.
Yeah.
And then I think the puzzle of like you've got the 4 blocks, you have to push you can push one.
Yeah, certain
and
directions.
you have to make a path. Yeah.
And then you have to like pull this thing to open the raise and lower the water, which I feel like is a thing in like a lot of games, but also in Zelda games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I was in that one, I was like, oh, good, a water level dungeon.
Yeah. I just struggled to get through that one. I kept dying early. I don't know what happened. And I had to go back and get the flippers because I didn't have them yet. And I was like, man, now I gotta swim. I see where this is going. Like, figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
And then I couldn't figure out how to get out of the water after I got the flippers. So it was fun. I was like, where do I go? I accidentally went in a whirlpool and ended up some random place in the map. And it's like, I just want to get out of the water and go to the dungeon. I never claimed to be good at video games. I thought that the like whole concept of going between the light and the dark world was cool.
Yeah. The game has a lot that I think is really good, and I remember I loved the game as a kid. Just playing it now, it's just I think some of it doesn't hold up as well. Like if they remade it, kind of like they made which one? The next one. Yeah,
Link's Awakening.
Because that one was fun,
right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm gonna play that one also on the SNES because I played that recently on the Switch, and I'm gonna see if I can compare them, but I haven't been able to get through 2 of the last 3 Zelda games, so we'll see.
I'm not feeling confident about my plan anymore, but I did extend all the other playtime except for the next one, I think. I extended all of them by like a week or so.
Yeah.
I was like, these like playtimes lied. But then I love going on YouTube and being like, let me find a playthrough of this because I didn't finish. And it's like, they finished in like 3 hours. You're like, God damn it. But then they never die. Like, they never die. And they know exactly where to go. Yeah, exactly. So they're not just like, look at my sword flinging magic now because I have full hearts like me.
Yeah, no, you watch some Let's Players, that's just going to be what, like 3 times as long.
Yes. Struggle at least, if not multiple times.
At least, yeah.
I think I don't remember how long the like playtime was rated for this one, but I feel like I probably played. We gave ourselves 3 weeks for this, just for the record, for everybody listening. And I probably played most of that time like a couple hours a night, and I got through about half the game, I think, basically. I got to the Lost Woods dungeon, and I was like, no, I can't, because Cosmo told me it was hard, and I was like, the other ones were hard.
Well, so another thing. So did you how much did you struggle to get to that dungeon?
I went into the Lost Woods, and so one thing that I struggled with a lot was like trying to figure out how to get into a place. So I'd be like, okay, I can see the location of this dungeon on the map, right? But then you'd be like, I think I can like go this way to get there. And then like you wouldn't be able to get in that way because like there'd be a mountain or something. So in this case, I went into the Lost Woods and I went in from the bottom because I had come that way and like couldn't figure out where to go. So I tried going in a different entrance and couldn't figure out where to go. So then I Googled it and it was like, just go in and go straight down to the whatever west and south. And I was like, none of that's not even going to like a place. I just ended up where the Master Sword was. So yeah, so I ran around trying to like find the dungeon for a couple of hours, and I was like, I gotta do other things to prepare for this episode. That was like yesterday.
Wait, so did you not get into the dungeon?
No.
So what you're supposed to do is when you're exploring the Lost Woods, there's a place where there's just a pitfall. You're supposed to hug the wall and just walk around the pitfall.
What?
Yeah. And then there's another place in the dungeon where like you come in and you can see there's like 2 squares of pitfalls, and then there's a lever you have to pull. And I'm like, okay, so clearly you have to come in through another way or something. No, you just hug the wall and pretend that those pitfalls aren't there, and like.
Plus, the boss looked super hard.
Oh my god. Even using quick saves, that took me maybe an hour to beat.
Well, it took you an hour. It took me 3 days, based on my experience. So, you know what? All that said, I thought it was a really fun game.
Yeah, it's fun. It's got a lot going for it. It's definitely got some intriguing puzzles, as we said, but just some of it doesn't hold, because like again, it's an old game, so a lot of the conventions of like game design weren't quite developed, and it's
even just conventions of the series. Like I was talking about, I was like, man, I miss when there was like a room before the boss where you could heal up, or even just like some way to get easily from the front of the dungeon to the boss room when you beat the whole thing.
Yeah.
Instead of having to go through the whole dungeon again. A couple of them had a little bit of a shortcut, but a lot of the newer games have a way where like the dungeon either loops on itself, or there's like just straight up a warp toward the to the boss room. Yeah.
And there's always like stuff outside so you can like re-heal. I remember like one of the dungeons that I went to was super annoying because there was like a fairy along the way, but then right outside the room there were these like, I think it was the water one, because you have to swim through the water and there's those like bug things in the water, and as far as I know there's no way to attack them because you can't attack them from the like side and you can't attack them while you're swimming.
Yeah, you have to use one of those silly medallions.
Oh, that would be smart. Silly medallions. Yeah. Anyway, but like without those, like with the regular items that you would just have in through the dungeon progression, then like there's no way, and they just attack you and there's nothing you can do. So I'd just be like, well, I guess I'm gonna have like -2 hearts when I get into, or -3 when I go into this like boss. And that was one of the ones that was kind of annoying. I can't remember. I think that was I don't remember which one it was actually. No,
the water would have been the hook shot, right? So that would have been the cloud of eyes, or the many eyes that you pull.
Yeah, I think that thing. Yeah, the thing where you pull all the fluff off.
Yeah, which that was another one that was annoying, because like, at least for my version, if you hook shot one of those looking up, it would come right into you.
Yeah,
and so you'd have to move out, otherwise it would attack.
Yeah.
But I think if you hook shotted it from either side or downward, then that wouldn't happen.
Okay, I definitely hook shotted them from the top, like from the bottom looking up. And definitely lost hearts, but I didn't connect that. That was why. I was just like, they're attacking me. These ones are just
kind of random, and like if it would damage you or not. Like,
So I just employed the strategy of running as far away as possible to keep from getting hit by the spinny attack too.
Oh yeah.
I feel like we have a lot of complaints, and then we're like, but it was fun.
But I think a lot of the complaints is it's old.
It's hard,
right?
Yeah.
It's old and hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more just like being used to newer gameplay design and like Zelda conventions, but it's also like it's such a massive step forward from the previous 2 games.
It's a great. It's like a very Zelda game.
Yes,
it had like everything that I expected.
Yeah, I literally, like, when I was playing it for a little while, I was like, no, this is a Zelda game.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the first Legend of Zelda is like, okay, like classic. It's an NES game. There's like not that much going on. But you're like, yeah, I see some familiar enemies and I got my sword and I'm running around and it's like fun and I can explore things. But this was like, I go to the dungeon and there's puzzles and like I'm getting power ups and like powering up my items or whatever. Like
Side quests.
yeah,
And,
special items. I feel like every Zelda game has certain things in common. I feel like it's like, you know, like a world to explore, dungeons to solve with like your like puzzles and fighting, and then like, you know, I don't know, heroism to be doing. Those are the three things, right? And like this game has all of that because you like wander around and you like find all the stuff. You can find hidden stuff, like you said, and you can also like, it has this game introduced a spinny attack, which we didn't even talk about yet, right?
oh, yeah.
So you can do your spinny attack and scream if you're playing the Game Boy Advance version. And like,
It's like, if you don't scream, have you really done a spinny attack?
yeah, you gotta be going ha 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 ha. You have to, right? Yeah, and but then it also had like the kind of magic-y attack from like the first Legend of Zelda, which was cool.
When you're at full
When you're at
health.
full health, yeah.
Yeah.
The like shooting light at the end of your sword attack, which is pretty great. Which also had a sound effect.
And it's like, it's so much less like obtuse,
yeah.
like you can figure out what you need to do in this
And
game.
they tell you things.
Yeah,
like the dialogue
the-
tells you what to do also.
The dungeons are just listed on
there's
your
like a
map.
map.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
See,
You could, there's a map in the game, like crazy enhancements. This was like I think maybe not a launch game, but an early game for the SNES. So a lot of people were saying, or like they apparently like this like pushed a lot of the limits of like the system capability. Like apparently the engineering team had to like reduce, like make it more and more efficient because there was like more crap in it. So like make it run more efficiently. But yeah, there's a
Yeah,
lot.
there are a lot of things, especially at the beginning, where I'm like, "Ooh, we're showing off the hardware,
Yeah.
like the spinny Triforce in the opening, and the way that it like pans across the map and everything." I'm like,
So
"Ooh."
much animations, so many different music.
Like someone's proud.
Amazing
Yeah.
16-bit graphics. Yeah. But yeah, there's like the dial, like when you wake up, it's like, Link, go to the castle. Link, do this thing. Go find the pendants. Here they are. Go do this thing. Go to the dark world. So there's like some obtuseness. Like there's some things that you have to go and like find and whatever. But like what you need to do
But
next.
even those, you're kind of like, "Oh, I have to find this thing," and like there are people who will talk about it. It's not like you have to like
Yes.
stumble into
I was like
the specific tree on the map that you have to burn or whatever.
I was like, I gotta find a way to swim. So I just Googled it. But like, I think in the actual manual it talked about the flippers. So you're like, okay, so
Yeah,
I
I've actually found a sign that said like this way the Zora King sells flippers
Oh,
or
okay,
whatever,
there you
or
go.
some guy was saying it or something. There's something in the game that talked about the Zora King.
Yeah.
Like has a special prize for you or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I bet that's how you swim.
Yeah. Zora the manfish.
Yes. Back when the Zoras were still weird, scaly
The
dudes.
Zoras were not main characters yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
were like basically enemies, except you can get the flippers from them also. So they're frenemies in this game, I guess.
Well, isn't it his...
They're enemies, but one of them has
A
a
flipper business.
business to run.
Yeah.
So yeah. He's not going to discriminate in his clientele.
If you got the money, and it's like 500 coins or something, wasn't it a lot?
Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah.
It was 500.
He knows what his merchandise
Yeah,
is worth.
totally. Yeah, one exciting thing about this game is you could carry like 999 coins, which is pretty great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. Instead of 250, which was a pain in the in Zelda 1, for sure.
And you didn't even have to go and upgrade your wallet like in some of the later
No.
ones.
Yeah.
Although, one thing that was interesting also was that there was like the fairy fountain thing where you could upgrade all your weapons, or like upgrade a bunch of them at least. And I was like, that seems familiar. Feels like Breath of the Wild. Where you go and like, I mean, I think in multiple maybe, but you go and like take your stuff to a fairy and you throw in like money or whatever, and then you can upgrade all your
Yeah,
weapons.
that's pretty classic in the series.
Yeah.
The fairy
But this is the
fountain.
first time, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, the first time they upgrade them, I think.
Yeah.
There's some like regular fairy fountains in the earlier games.
There were fairy fountains in Legend of Zelda, and I was really excited, but they just healed you. They didn't upgrade your stuff.
Yeah. And there wasn't like a great fairy.
Yeah.
It was just the fairies were there, right?
Yeah, there was just big
Yeah.
ones at the fairy fountain, and then little ones if you killed things, I think.
Oh, there was a big fairy at the fairy fountain.
Yeah,
in
you
Zelda
didn't use
1?
the fairy fountain.
I don't remember. It was too long ago.
I think there was a big one. Yeah. Yeah, I think there were big ones. But yeah, there was no like special one, like the one in the wishing waterfall or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah. Venus, the queen of the fairies, or whatever. I started to get a little bit bored of the dungeons, I'll say. Like they were I thought they were like fun in Zelda-y, but then by like the third Dark World one, I was like, this is more like moving stuff around and like more enemies and like another hard boss that I'm gonna die a bunch of times. Like it definitely got if we weren't trying to play through for this podcast, that would be the point where I would peace out and go run around in the world and like find stuff, probably.
I mean, I think there was definitely a good amount of like variation.
Yeah.
Like in so far, the dungeons had been all the same sort of skin. Like
True.
They were very much the differentiation was just the color palette and the difficulty.
Yeah,
really,
there might be
like
an
that
extra
sort of thing.
enemy added each time or something like that, but most of them
And
are the
of cou-
same. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas here, like they looked different. They
Had different
had
mechanics.
themes. Like they were actually like an ice palace and a water palace and all that, rather than just,
Yeah, the swampy one had like vines and stuff in it in the dark woods or the whatever skull woods.
Yeah, and there's definitely some nice, unique concepts based on that. Like there was one area where you had to cut the vines to reveal a hidden path and stuff like that. So it was good.
Even like
Definitely an improvement, but
the palace was a setting, like in Zelda 2, but there's like an extensive sort of like there's extensive activity that happens in the palace. You go there like multiple times. So it's like a dungeon itself, which is cool.
Yeah, I might have cut down the dungeon number a little bit.
The 7 sages, though.
yeah.
Maybe there could have been 2 per like dungeon. We could have had like 3, but then like the person that I watched, the playthrough I watched, beat it in like 4.5 hours, so it must not be that hard. I don't know, man. These games are designed to last for years, right? Like to play them for years.
I think it's like in some of the later Zeldas, I like a lot of the like out of dungeon stuff, like exploring the world and like talking to people and stuff. And there wasn't that much in here, so it's just kind of like dungeon.
Yeah.
So
this was like the first time. Speaking of NPCs and running around in the world, this was the first Kakariko village, right? Unless there was one in Zelda 2. Wow, don't get too excited.
I think so.
I was like, hey, I know that place. That's where all the chickens are.
There's a lot of music that I think you hear a lot that came from this game.
Music, you
that
say?
originated there.
Great transition to talk about the next thing. Some of the ones that I noticed immediately were like Zelda's Lullaby, or like what's called Zelda's Lullaby later. It's like the maiden music when you rescue them. And I was like, hey, I know that song. That's a great song. And the fairy fountain music, aka the menu music. It's usually the menu in the fairy fountain. And I was like, this is the best. And then I think it's called the like
Kakariko Village.
Yeah, Kakariko Village. And like the Hyrule Field theme, like the main theme, there was like some more new takes, like new like versions of it. So there's like the main one that you hear all the time while you're playing, unless you're screaming. And then there's in the credits there's like another sort of like altered version of that's a little bit of a darker version, which is kind of cool. But yeah, there was some great
Ganon's theme too makes its first appearance.
Yes. So good.
Just a nice ominous tune. Sorry, I just put candy in my mouth.
An ominous tune. The music for this game was composed by Koji Kondo as well, I believe. So that makes sense. We got a lot of he composed A Link to the Past, so we got a lot of the same
Very
things.
Zelda-y sounding Zelda.
A lot of like repeats of the first one. The second one had a different composer, if you remember from last time we talked about it. So which was still good, but not like the Zelda things that come later, I think. And then we already talked about the flute. So like another musical instrument, which Zelda seems to love to do. So like that was the first Legend of Zelda had like the flute that let you open a couple of things and like you could move around. Like you could warp with it. Which I didn't know until I was like doing research after I finished playing the game, and I was like, whoa, nice. I should have used that.
Yeah, you just kind of like went to the different dungeons in order.
Yeah,
with
you
that
went to the
one.
different dungeons that you had visited before, I think. Unless you went to the one that you had to reveal, and in which case you just revealed it or covered it again. I think it could go up and down. Yeah. So yeah, we had the ocarina, aka the flute, in this game. And there were a lot of sound effects. I also enjoyed that the near-death sound effect was more chill this time. As someone who spent a lot of time near death, I didn't like.
Still obnoxious.
Still obnoxious.
I'm like, I get it.
I still played this game on mute most of the time. I'm gonna throw that out there. Like, I enjoyed every time there was like a cutscene, I listened to the music, and like I would listen to the music for a little bit, but I mostly played it on mute. But I don't know. I also, handhelds. You play them while you do something else, right? Like, it's not like it was on my TV like the real, like, a SNES game would have been.
Yeah, I played it on mute when I played it at work, but otherwise I had the sound up a little bit because, Zelda music.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's good. Most of the time I'm also hanging out with my husband, so I don't want to subject him constantly to Zelda music when he's not playing, but, whatever. Soon it won't matter because I'll have to take over the TV for Ocarina of Time, which I'm planning to play on N64, which is going to be fun to figure out how to hook up. Oh, actually, I guess these have components, so it's fine. It's not like the NES where you really have to figure out how to hook it up to a modern TV.
Yeah. Well, a lot of modern TVs don't even have component anymore. They only have HDMI.
Yeah, this TV is from like a good amount of time ago, so it still has a component input, so we'll be good. But yeah, you can just get adapters.
Yeah, I just got a new one early this year, so I got I had to buy a little
HDMI component,
like HDMI to component adapter to be able to play my N64 and stuff.
Yeah. Technology. How can we play all these old games without the component adapter? I'm really excited for when I have to set up the Wii and I got to figure out how to put the bar on the top of the TV.
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
Actually, maybe I can put it on the
Well,
bottom.
you don't.
Huh?
Because you could get.
You can set it below
I don't
your
need it
TV.
for. Oh no, I need it for Twilight Princess. Sorry, you don't want.
Well, there's a remaster for Twilight Princess, isn't there?
Yeah, I just don't have it. I don't think.
Was
it? Wait. Was there one for Switch?
You don't have the Wii
Or
version?
Wii U?
No, I think it was Wii U.
Yeah, I don't. I have the
on
Wii
the
U
Wii
version
U.
of.
It came with the Link and the Wolf Link and
Wait a minute. Oh, I do have that. I could play it on the Wii U, but it's reversed, which really threw me off. Isn't it flipped?
Yeah.
map is
I think they flipped
completely
it back
flipped.
for.
Because I think
They flipped it for North America.
It came out on the GameCube. They flipped it
they
for
flipped
the
it for
Wii U because they figured most people were going to be right-handed, and it would be weird to
Who cares?
swing your right hand and have
is
Link's
that
left
for
hand swing.
Japan as well, or
That
is
was their
it?
thought process. I think it's in the Japan one too.
You're probably right. I don't know. I just know that it was flipped and it freaked
and then
me
they
out.
switched it back for the Wii U. So
Because even the level, because I didn't finish Twilight Princess, I played some of it, and even the levels I had played were like, I'm supposed to run to the left to go to the Sacred Woods, not to the right, and it was really confusing. That's why I was planning to play it on Wii.
yeah.
Maybe it's,
It's been so long since I played the Wii version that I think
You
it
would
wouldn't
think
bother me
that-
at this
Yeah.
point, but
but why don't you find out?
Yeah.
I think I remember when I first played the enhanced version, I had a couple moments where I'm like, isn't that
Shouldn't it be over there?
No, it's over here.
So-
now. But it didn't screw me up. It was just moments of sort of weird deja vu.
It would eventually get to the point where I think that
You
I
know, where
wouldn't.
I'm I thought it was over
Yeah, I
here.
wouldn't have been in that world before, and maybe it would be okay. But yeah, right at the opening, I was like, but I need to go over here to Link's house, and I need to go here to go to where the cow things are, or whatever. You know what I mean? Anyway, so we'll see. Maybe I'll play it on the Wii U.
Yeah, I think Nintendo overthought it on flipping it for the Wii, but I can understand their thought process when that had never really been a thing before.
Yeah.
The original version was the GameCube, which had left-handed Link, and then when they decided to release it on the Wii also, they flipped the whole thing so that people would be using the same hand as Link. Most people.
Yeah.
Since most people are right-handed. And then I think they switched it back for the Wii U.
Skyward Sword is on the left, though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's when they realized it didn't matter.
Because I remember holding the Skyward Sword with my left hand, I think. I don't know.
I think that one.
I
Did they just figure out that you could choose? They asked, "Do you want to be right or
I
left-handed?"
don't know. Well, anyway, we'll figure that out later.
I think they ask you, but I don't think it affects which hand Link is
No.
holding the sword in.
But maybe I just held it with my left hand. I don't know. I don't remember. Anyway, whatever. We'll find that out later. Just give that a couple, half a year, and then we'll be playing those. That'll be fun. Anyway, music. So we had some classic fun music from this game that was partially taken from the first Legend of Zelda and then riffed on and added to. And obviously the Super Nintendo supported 16-bit memory, So the graphics and the music are enhanced, and the music actually sounds really good. Apparently, some people, Kayla, complained that the music didn't sound that great coming out of the Game Boy speakers, but I didn't really notice. I don't know. Maybe it would sound better coming out of a TV in your face. But
Yeah, I'm sure it was slightly lower quality, but I didn't really notice.
I didn't notice it being like particularly bad or anything like that. But I'm sure the people who reviewed that initially had played the SNES version, because these are comments from like when it first came out in 2003.
Yeah.
So.
Although I played it on my DS, so I don't know if it was a pure speaker problem or a game
Port problem.
data limit problem.
Yeah, I don't know.
So yeah.
I don't know. I played it on an actual Game Boy Advance. That was only slightly modified, but not the speaker. The speaker wasn't modified. It was whatever it came with, and it was fine. It sounded like a Game Boy music. So anyway, but like I did listen to them. Like I found like a good video on YouTube that has them on like high definition. They sound really nice. They're really great. Much more like texture and depth in the music because there's more data available, right? So it's very nice. And in terms of like the visuals, of course, all the like sprites and stuff were enhanced because there were 16-bit graphics, so there was like more color and more animations in the sprites, and more depth, and there was the light and dark world. So I think we had talked about how like in the original Legend of Zelda, there's like the two maps, like all the dungeons like fit together in one map, and there's like the overworld map. So I feel like in this case there's the overworld and then the dark world, and they're like different like skins over basically the same thing. So sometimes you would go to a place in the dark world and like all the grass was like flower things, and like all the graphics were different, and it was pretty cool. I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah.
I think this game also, like you said, Kayla, made use of like more intense like animation, like and like cutscenes for certain things using like the game graphics. So like like cutscenes, and then at the whole end credits with the extended cutscene, which was kind of funny. There were some very interesting enhancements to the visuals because of the capability of the console. So it's pretty cool. Oh, we didn't talk about Link's red shirt or blue shirt.
Oh yeah,
I forgot about that as an item, but it changes Link's sprite also, like in Legend of Zelda 1. I thought that was cute.
Something else I didn't mention, which was really nifty that I found out. So, like the previous games, you don't do anything, and your shields block or deflect things. If you held B to do this charge your spin attack, Link holds his shield to the side. So if to your, I guess, right side an enemy was attacking you, you could block it with that shield.
Ooh.
I know.
Let's see.
Very neat little
Yeah, but if
detail
you're
that
attacking,
like
you get hit by their shit, which is annoying.
yeah. But
Yeah, I did notice that if you just hold that charge button, like if anything runs into you from the front, it'll take damage because your sword is sticking straight out.
Yes,
Yep.
and it's like charging. You can also like use that and run forward through things, and it'll just like cut through plants and stuff too, which was pretty cool and convenient sometimes. The person that I watched in the playthrough was like constantly running, like the like with the Pegasus boots running, like charging around. And I don't know if it was just, I think it was for speed, but also like on the Game Boy version, that button is like the R button. But I think on the original controls, it was like the B button. So it kind of makes more sense. Like you would be right there. Like you'd be doing it all the time as opposed to like trying to reach around or like reaching up for the R button, I found. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Because I definitely didn't do
Holding
that.
B to run in Pokemon.
Yeah. But first you have to get running shoes.
Yes.
You have to get rollerblades and run into everything and never use them.
God, I hate those freaking rollerblades.
It was just as bad as the Pegasus boots, because like if you run with the Pegasus boots, you'll just run till the end of the screen if you don't hit anything. So it's similar.
Well, those are terrible because it's mapped to the freaking control stick. And you have to use the D-pad, which you have to stretch your thumb in a weird way to use to not use the rollerblades. God, I hated that.
Pokemon game
That's why I
is
never
that?
replayed those games. X and Y.
Good times.
I've replayed like every Pokemon game multiple times except for that one because every time I think about doing it, I'm like, no, fuck the rollerblades.
Good times. Strong feelings about Pokemon always. Swearing feelings about Pokemon always.
I've had strong feelings about Pokemon since I was like 8.
Anyway, that is my my take on the visuals and music this time. I didn't have a lot to say except I liked them and I enjoyed the.
Yes.
It's
I liked
good.
the light and dark world especially. I thought that concept was like cool. It was executed very interestingly visually. I thought.
Yeah.
And I was like, when you first go to the dark world, you're like, oh my god, it's like everything's the same, but it's like inverse. It's so cool. I don't know. I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a neat moment when you first warp to the dark
You're like,
world.
I'm a rabbit. Why am I a rabbit?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I already knew that happened, but still kind of like, whoa.
Whoa, look at me.
And I can imagine that like blowing your little child mind if you were playing that for the
For
first
sure.
time.
Plus, then it's like, I thought it was just going to be, or like, I didn't at first realize that it was like literally like the whole map. Like, I thought it was just going to be like that one area. And you like, you do your bunny thing or whatever, and you finish the dungeon, and then you like don't necessarily have to do that again. And at first I was like, that's kind of weird that they had this like thing just for that. But no. Like the whole map has a Dark World version. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, it was nice.
I really enjoyed hearing like a lot of like now classic tunes in this game. Like,
Zelda's all
it's like there are a couple ones that you hear from the first game and stuff, but basically like just kind of like the main theme and stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff like Zelda's Lullaby and Kakariko Village and Ganon's theme
I think that
that show up in some form or another in most of the later games.
the thing about the first game is like there wasn't that much music. There was basically like there was the overworld music, which is the main theme. There was like dungeon music, and then there was like I think final fight music or something. Like there just wasn't that much background music.
Yeah.
In general. So like now we've expanded into like the classic. Some of the classic.
I think Zelda 2 was the same, right? Palace, overworld, and maybe village music.
I can check because I made a note, but there weren't that many. There was maybe like 5 or 6 maximum.
Yeah. Because Zelda's like such a musical series. Like, not only,
Yeah.
like the music, it's like its background music is like famous, not infamous, famous as in like video game music. But also like music is always like an important part of the story in like almost every game.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see that music starting to like really take shape.
So, one of my favorite songs from this is the Dark World over theme.
The do do do.
Yeah, it's really nice.
That one. Yeah. No.
But do they? Do 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 do.
Oh, that one.
Do, 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 do.
Yeah.
Do they? Does that ever come back? I don't know if they ever use that song again.
It's very similar to like, I don't know.
I think it's sort of a like Hyrule Field theme,
But like altered.
Yeah.
similar, isn't it?
Yeah, like I don't know how
Yeah.
to describe it. It sounds like a lot of Zelda music. Let me see if I can actually find this song.
Yeah, because that's one of my favorite Zelda songs.
It does sound kind of
And-
like later Hyrule Field.
Yeah,
themes.
I think it's definitely sort of a probably like a transformation or something of that theme, but just I wonder if they use it in Four
It
Swords.
sounds like they might, because it's on the same
Yeah.
cartridge for the. I mean, it would be on the same cartridge for the Game Boy Advance. So what I listed in Zelda 2 was there's the overworld, the village, there's like battle music, and then there's palace music, boss fight music, and then there's like great palace music and credits. So there's like whatever 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then in Legend of Zelda, there was main theme, dungeon theme, Death Mountain, and then like the save screen, like death screen music, and that's only 4. Those are the only ones that I noticed. But yeah, there was way more in this. Just because the game has like way more stories, it has way more like
Yeah,
things that need to be ideas that need to be supported with music, like releasing the maidens and like going into the dark world. Like the dark world like has its own atmosphere and the dungeons, right?
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. I always like the fairy fountain music. That's one of my favorite Zelda.
yeah.
Music's-
I don't know. There. I remember like oh god, maybe about 10 years ago now, but like at some point I listened to that song and like closely and I was like, holy shit, this song is way better than I even like took it for. Cause like I think
It has a
I only
cool-
hear because like it has like I don't know, maybe like a melody and like a bass.
Yeah.
I don't know music that well, but like it's got two different like sounds going at the same time, and I think I always only ever focus at like
Melody.
one at a time, and then I like for some reason notice that they're both going at like differently, and I'm like, oh my god, I don't know, something about it just like awoken in me, and I appreciated it even more.
This Cosmos Awakening.
Yeah.
Yeah. It has a melody that is very easy to pick out, and then it has like a harmony where you're like, oh,
That's the word. Yeah.
bass. Yeah, harmony. So, our final thoughts?
Well, so we skipped speed runs.
Oh, sorry. Tell
Yeah.
us about the speed runs.
You seamlessly transitioned too quickly.
Too seamless. Too
He
seamless.
started it by talking about music. It's all his fault. I blame you.
So this.
Too seamless.
Put the seams back.
We need more seams. So speed runs.
Yeah, speedruns. Finally. Oh, beautiful speedruns. The shit I live for.
I mean, I watched the person play it in like less than 5 hours, and that felt like a speed run. So
Yeah.
So far, speedruns had been like in the previous Zelda games, like one or two tricks that were utilized to really like speed things up, like the screen scrolling and things like that. Finally, the games are complicated. Like there's a lot in them, and they had to force the code to be smaller to fit on the cartridge. So there's a lot of shit that happens that's not
More
supposed to
glitches.
happen.
yeah, more things means more glitches, right? Yes.
Well, it's more shortcuts.
Okay.
Because like later games, they don't care about space. They have way too much space anyway, so they don't have to really take all these shortcuts. But like things like there's two maps. There's the overworld map, and then there's the dungeon map. And so it tells you which map which of those two you're in, maybe the dark world one too, and then which entrance you're in, or something like that, right? And so whatever entrance you came in, it thinks you're in that dungeon. But once you start going, like glitching through the walls and going into another dungeon that you didn't enter from, it still keeps your key count and your master key settings.
Oh.
So
Oh.
one of the
so you
things
could just
is,
like get a big key and then go to another dungeon.
yeah,
Oh.
and so even better is the very first place that you go to. I think it's the cave from like Hyrule Castle to the Sanctuary. It might be a different one. I don't remember, but that cave has 0 keys, so it just like you don't need keys, so it doesn't really keep track. So if you enter from there, you don't even need a key to open the chests in other dungeons. So so like with stuff like that, it gets very interesting. And then
How do you glitch through the wall? They don't do the side scroller thing, do they?
no,
Okay.
so because this game is 2-directional, what you do is it takes time, but you alternate between down and left or right when you're at a corner, and you move 1 frame at a time. And Link kind of gets into this place where he's like, I don't know where to be, and all of a sudden he'll like teleport like 4 blocks in a different direction,
Oh.
and so you'll just be in the wall now.
Oh.
And when you do that, you're in a mode that they call like exploration mode, where like things are just a little different. Like, so if you transition to a different dungeon, it'll have a cave background still, if you came in through the cave, for example. So it would still have, like, the walls would still look like the cave, but it would have, I think, the layout, and I think maybe even the right colors, but it would be cave walls rather than like the metal wall or whatever.
Yeah.
One of the things you do is if you do that clip through the walls in certain places in Death Mountain, for some reason when you scroll downward, it keeps you on the same screen, but on the map it says that you're somewhere else. I didn't fully understand it, but like you could use that to like cheat your position, and then use the mirror, I think, to turn into the light world, and you're now someplace you shouldn't be. Oh, so to move 1 frame at a time, to do that clip, you can use the sword. Actually, so the speedrun I watched was a swordless run, so they just never picked up the sword. So when you swing without the sword, I think he still does the motion, there's no sword there, and some way, I couldn't figure it out. I tried a couple times, and it didn't work for me. But that helps you make sure that you do only 1 frame at a time. There were a couple other ways using other items and things, like the start menu was when you don't have the sword, when you shouldn't even have the sword at some point. Because at some point, like, the game's like, you should have a sword by now, so we'll let you swing. So they had to use the start menu, which, not great, but... So another thing that was very interesting is if you transition from one screen to another the same time you use an item, it thinks that you used the next item number code up.
Oh.
So one of the cool things is, for a green potion, you do that, the next item is the flute. So if you do that in a dungeon, the duck comes and picks you up.
What?
Yeah. And then if you go to one of the warp points, for some reason, like, it's glitched up, it thinks you're still in a dungeon, but you've warped, you can... There's like a log that has a blue ruby, and you just keep running into it to get max rubies. It was interesting, though, because as he kept doing that, the screen kept scrolling up like he was walking. So eventually he was off screen just collecting rubies.
Whoa.
And then, because he plays that game so much, he knew what to do afterwards. But so if you make a mirror warp point, right? So you're in the dark world, you make a mirror warp point, and then you save and quit, your transition back into the dark world is gone. But if you die and have to respawn, that spot is still there.
So, like, you respawn at the pyramid. Yes? You respawn in the dark world.
No, because you would be
No?
in the light world, so you'd respawn at Link's house.
Oh, but then
Because-
your thing
because
comes
the-
back. Like, your mirror
Your
thing
warp
comes
point
back.
is there. Yeah, because if you once you leave the light world to the dark world in any way, I'm pretty sure that disappears.
Yes.
Your warp point. So yeah, so you'd have to be. Another interesting thing that the person did, I think just for fun, because this was what was it? The Awesome Games Done Quickly, like their fundraiser.
Oh.
So one of the things he did, he died and used a fairy. No, he died the same frame that he was leaving the water, and the fairy brought him back. So the game thought that he was still in the water, so he was swimming on land. So he had to like swim up the ladder and
that's
like
funny.
things like that. Yeah, so that was a neat little trick.
It's funny and also annoying, because I found swimming very annoying in this game.
Yes. So a thing that can only be done in the very first version of the Japanese release is an item dash. So if you press the dash button and the item button at the same time, instead of holding your sword out, he'll hold a different item out. Which I did not write why that was relevant, but there was one time he did it with a hook shot.
I mean, you could attack things or, like, use a bomb or something, right? Like,
Yeah. I mean, I don't remember what the utility of it was in a speedrun context, but it's still an interesting thing to do. If you use the Pegasus boots and made sure that every other frame I don't remember if you have to press the hover boots or the Pegasus boots for one frame or let go for one frame only, but if you do it enough, you can walk over pitfalls.
oh.
But it's one frame, so it's really, really difficult. So I think the guy tried like 2 or 3 times and then gave up because,
Yeah, because life, yes.
yeah. Another trick that I saw was the bomb. If you get hit by a bomb, you get sent back a decent amount. I think how much you get sent back depends on how close you were to the bomb too. Because there were a few times where I did that and I don't think I went very far. But if you do it right, you can jump over pits.
Oh.
So there's some things where like you wanna. I think the same place where he was doing the Pegasus boots run, he ended up placing a bomb and just hopping over anyway. Something that you can do, especially with the cane to place a block, is if you move little by little with an item over your head, and then you put it down and you transition basically with the block in your hand or something like that, the screen will move, or you'll stay on the same screen, but it'll think you're in the next room. So then you open up a chest in the previous room, and it's like, oh, well, since you're in this room, we'll give you this item.
Oh, so, like, you can get an item from another room.
Yeah, and I think there's something you can do that's like the exact opposite, where you go to the next room, but it thinks you're in the previous room.
So you can, like, get items without going into rooms, basically.
Yeah. But what that does is that causes random shit to appear when you do that. So sometimes you can't even really see the screen because just like text comes up.
Really? Wow.
This time, a copy of any text that he saw was like duplicated above it. So if it said, you got this, it would above it say you got this. And then I think there was like some Japanese writing somewhere else that was like kind of in the way, but they don't know what it is. It just something will come up and block the screen. We don't know what.
Magic.
So I mean, it was very fascinating, very interesting. A lot of different things that you can do. A lot of fun things. Those are the kind of speedruns I really enjoy watching because there's a lot that they can explain and go over, and it's also just a lot of fun stuff. So the fastest speedrun is for no major glitches, 1 hour and 23 minutes.
Okay.
With restricted major glitches, 25 minutes and 15 seconds. So that is by Area, the first one with 1 hour and 23 minutes. Exactly, 0 seconds. And the next person is 9 seconds behind, followed by someone who is 1 hour, 23 minutes, and 35 seconds. So for just the fastest run at all, 12 minutes flat.
Wow.
And second place is 13 minutes and 1 second. So that is...
So the lead person has a full minute lead, is what I'm hearing.
A full minute, yeah.
As opposed to 6 seconds or like 30 seconds in the...
Yeah.
No glitches. Yeah.
Oh, I see. It's a new record. So the previous record was 2 years ago. This 12-minute one is 3 months ago.
Ooh.
So I wonder if they figured something.
A new something.
A new strat. Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, and that is by Hotorubi Ta,
Okay.
a Japanese player. So.
Cool.
Hotorubi. Yep. I think that covers my speedrun corner.
Speedrun corner?
Yeah.
You mean like glitch corner where you literally glitch through the corners? Like in this game?
Yep, exactly.
It is interesting.
Yeah, so we just did a sequence break when we talked about music and visuals
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We had to glitch through the
It was
episode,
thematic.
right? We had to enter that section first, just so
That we could go back to this one. Yeah.
Yeah.
These are the jokes that we're bringing today. So now conclusions, final dungeon. Yes. I thought it was fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if it was something that I had a lot more time to play at my own pace, because like I kind of had to rush it for this, and like we only had 3 weeks, and I procrastinated a little bit. I was
You
busy,
were like, "Oh,
so
I haven't started yet." I was like,
yeah.
I was like, "I did." I mean, you still got farther than I did, but yes.
So I think being able to take my time, play at my own pace, I would have enjoyed it a lot more. But having to try and because I think there was a point where I played for like 3 hours straight, and I was just like,
It actually gets tiring after a
This is
few
the-
hours. Like I had to break it
Yeah.
up every few hours. I think
yeah.
I think later games aren't going to be as bad. Like I can play Zelda, I can play Breath of the Wild for hours. So I kind of feel
Yes.
like
Yeah.
that will change at some point.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was talking about with the like dungeon.
Yeah, you're kind of like,
thing.
well,
Mm-hmm.
I can.
I'm like, yes, I beat a dungeon and progressed.
Now I
and
have
I'm
to
like,
go to the
now
other
I have to
dungeon.
just go back in another
Yeah.
dungeon.
Yeah, like I do think I feel like if you read people's comments about when they played this as children, and they're like, yeah, I spent my whole summer playing this game. I played it so many times. I played it for hours and hours. I think like they were not designed to be completed within 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So basically, and I mean, so what we should have done is prepare for this podcast for like 10 years instead of doing it in, like month by month, basically.
Yeah.
But whatever. By the way, we have 3 weeks for the next game, so brace yourself.
Well, I've technically already played
That's
it.
true. I think it's
so
shorter.
I think Link's
Yeah.
Awakening is shorter.
Because it's a handheld game.
It is. Yes.
Like it originated on the original
I
Game
read something
Boy,
interesting,
so.
which is that they started. So when they were working on this game for SNES, the team that was working on it got like Game Boy development kits because they were like, oh, maybe we can release this for Game Boy. So they were like playing around with it and like experimenting with the Game Boy, and basically they developed like the premise for Link's Awakening. So they basically like
that makes
started
sense.
on the next game and they released this one for SNES. So I was reading this interesting article, and it was about this. It was about this game, and then it started to transition to all these like things that they started for the next game, and I was like, wait a minute, how did I? But I was just reading about about Link to the Past. Like, I think it will be a little bit shorter, but it's still a tight timeline. Thus, I expanded all our timelines for all the later games, so everybody rejoice in knowing that you have an extra week or something for all of them.
Yeah. I think we'll also just personally have less trouble going forward because these are like all going to be games we've played before.
You also
Yeah,
have,
well,
yes.
Yeah.
So it's like you kind of know what to do.
I still think Ocarina of Time and
I mean, not starting with Link's Awakening. I mean, starting.
yeah,
with,
I think
yeah.
the
Like,
N64 ones.
I played Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask before, but only like a little bit. So I probably still need some.
But I think they're going to be more similar to something like Wind Waker than they will be to
Yeah.
Legend of
Yeah.
Zelda.
I mean, I think.
But it's like Wind Waker. I can go through like at least the first half of the
I'm
game.
pretty sure I
like,
know exactly
in my
what
sleep
to
almost,
do
like-
for the first couple.
Yeah.
But
I don't remember Oracle
oh yeah,
that well, so that one may be a little bit more similar to the ones that because it is. Same. You said that was the same year as Wind Waker, right?
no. This game came out for Game Boy Advance the same year as Wind Waker.
Okay.
Oracle Is
I
mean,
mean,
it's around then. It was
98
2001.
or 99.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
2001.
it's still I don't know what to expect. I also remember loving that game, but I don't know how it's going to hold up and how well it's going to be for a game that we're trying
I
to
mean,
sort
those
of
games were for
power
Game Boy
through.
Color, so there's not going to be super complicated. There's no way that they can be.
Yeah, but I mean, neither was Link to the Past.
Yeah, and yet.
But it just it's challenging, and honestly, I think part of it is that there isn't enough to it to make it something that you can like play for a long periods
Yeah,
of
it
time
became
because
not
it's
compelling after like 5 dungeons that were like, yes, they were different and they had different enemies and different puzzles, but like they were kind of essentially the same mechanics. Like it's like still kind of the same stuff. It's like, okay, the dungeon has different layout and has a different theme, but it's still like, okay, like this room has a puzzle. I need to raise and lower this thing. I need to like go up and down on the map. I need to like fight these annoying enemies. I need to like
Push the block.
Yeah.
Find the keys. Kill
yeah,
the dudes.
yeah, it was all
Yeah.
kind of similar. Like, I definitely think if I had more time in between, it would have been more fun. But yeah, it became sort of repetitive and not exciting to play for more than 2 to 3 hours at a time. Basically, not dying for more than 2 to 3 hours at a time. In my case, I'm really impressed by the people like the playthrough people and like the speedrun people who like never die. It's like they played it so much that they never die. Like, wow, it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, some of the people who know how to like beat a boss by like, all right, I'm gonna attack this 3 times, move here, then come back, attack these 3 times, move over here, throw a bomb over here, and then like they just know how. It's cool. I can't do it. I don't have the patience to learn. Actually, that's not true because I think with Ocarina of Time, I've learned a decent amount of nifty little tricks.
Yeah.
So.
But Ocarina of Time.
I can't wait to talk about that.
I think Ocarina of Time is going to be really fun. I'm looking forward to that. That's like the next game. So we were playing next game because we're going to play Link's Awakening and then next is Ocarina of Time. And I'm looking forward to that.
The transition to 3D.
Yeah, wow, the polygons.
Yeah.
So many polygons.
It's just because I grew up on the N64. It's like, people are like, oh, the graphics, and make fun of them. But I'm like, it looks fine.
It's fine. I mean, like, it was advanced at the time.
Yeah.
Plus, like, I mean, like, because it had 64-bit graphics, then it's like, and 64-bit, like, memory, it has, like, more intense music, a longer story, like, more spaces, like, there's more space in the game for things to happen, which is cool. I think this was before we were recording, but we were talking about the 3DS, but we were talking about how the 3DS had, like, all these, like, kind of gimmicks, like the 3D and the augmented reality. But like the N64 also had like, it was like really, impressive technology at the time, right? So they're all like kind of funny in retrospect, but like at the time they were like rad. Although these, I feel like the SNES graphics aged well for this game. Like they're cute. It's really cute. Like the vibe in the overworld is really fun and cute, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the vibe people still go for when they make, like, indie, like, pixel-based games, so it's like the SNES era.
That is very true. Because it's charming. There's, like, just enough detail that it's, like, I feel like with the NES, there's a lot of, like, interpretation of, like, what you're seeing, right? Where you're like, okay, I can see that the Lionel's, like, kind of a centaur, or, like, there's like an Octorok's kind of like an octopus on the ground and it's like spiky. And like I see that I'm a little dude with little short shorts holding a sword. And there's like an old man that has like, you know, like an old woman with longer hair, and there's like an old man, but like everything else is kind of like flat. There's a lot of like repeated texture, but like with the, you know, like we had like the details in the cuckoos and like the flying duck. You can tell the duck is different than the chickens, right?
Yeah.
Like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like there's not just like generic bird or like generic. There's like multiple. There's like three types of skeleton enemies, and they all look slightly different or whatever. Or like, you know, yeah. Anyway, but we're getting there. I think Link's Awakening is gonna be fun. I don't know anything about it, so I'm excited. And then Ocarina, I'm really excited for Ocarina of Time.
Yeah. So yeah, very good game. Big step forward. Still not my favorite, but I can see why it's other people's favorites. Like,
especially if they like played it on the SNES when it came out, like compared to all the other games that back then. Like,
Also, I
yeah,
feel
like
they
this
were
isn't
child.
like it's not pure nostalgia speaking when people are saying that
No.
this is a good game.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
You can see like
but I think it definitely
it benefits from
could.
nostalgia.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. But definitely, like, if you were a kid and you got like SNES and you were playing this game, this would be like mind blowing compared to the NES. I think like there's so much you can explore, and there's so much you could do. So many dungeons to explore.
Yeah.
But like, there's all the like
Yeah.
little hidden things, and like the map is like bigger and more interactive. Like, there's different things you can do and places you can go. And it's like not as. I feel like this is like an interesting transition. Like, I wonder how like guided the next game, like Link's Awakening, is going to be, because in this game you actually get like a map in the game, and you get like guidance in the game of where to go. Like, they're starting to sort of like shape the more like modern console games, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, this is like the beginning of that, as opposed to being like you're dumped in a world like in Legend of Zelda.
Yeah,
like in the
yeah.
original
Oh
one.
my god.
It's like you get a map and you get nothing else.
So I don't remember if I mentioned this in the first one. I entered a dungeon. I'm like, oh, all right, great. And I was like going through it. I was stuck, and I'm like, I don't understand what's happening. This is really hard. I can't figure it out. And then I looked at a guide. I'm like, oh, I'm like 3 dungeons ahead. I didn't realize the little number said that this is palace number like 6.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay.
Yep. Yeah, I remember wandering into a random dungeon in Legend of Zelda also, just like before I started trying to use a map or a guide or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I'm in a dungeon,
So-
but it was hard. Yeah.
Yeah. An interesting thing about A Link to the Past is you don't actually have to do them in the order that they're
You
presented.
mentioned that.
There's some that you can do out of order. I did not look up which ones those were or the details about it, but I do remember someone somewhere saying that, you know, you can skip certain dungeons and things like that.
I think you eventually would have to get all the maidens.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I don't think you necessarily have to do them in order. But I was like, but I need the tools.
Mm-hmm.
I have to
Yeah,
do
they
what the
kind
game
of play
tells
that
me.
up in Link Between Worlds, which is
Ooh, interesting.
sort
Link
of
Between
a
Worlds.
Yeah.
it's halfway between a remake
Oh,
and
I
a
forgot
sequel
about
to
that.
this game.
Yeah.
But yeah, they really play up the whole like doing dungeons in different orders thing in that game. So
People
Mm-hmm.
will describe it as like a spiritual successor. And I think they
Yeah.
the team wanted this to be like more open world, but there's just like there's limitations on like how you can
Yeah.
program this
Yeah.
a game for the SNES. Like, I think
Yeah.
they were like, I want it to be like you can explore and do all this stuff. So there is a lot of that, but like there's still like some aspects of things that have to be done in a certain order. So, but I think the game does a good job of guiding you those things too, which I think is kind of like an advancement toward like modern games, at least Zelda games, where you're like given
Yeah.
direction basically on what to do.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was never like, what the fuck do I do? There were some points where I'm like, I know what I have to do, but I'm not quite sure how. Where
Yeah, it was about
like
how
I could
it
have
was,
figured
like-
something out if I fiddled around or I looked it up because I didn't have the time. But like, there's never a point where I'm just like, I have no frickin' idea. Like,
There was one instance where like it's when Sahasala dies, and as he's dying, he's like, "Oh, this is what you need to go do this." Oh, I think he said like go to the castle, and then like I went and I was like, "Hold on a minute." He did say that, right? I didn't misread that, and like I'm supposed to go somewhere else. He's dead. I can't ask him again. Like, and it was just I was. Then I figured out. Oh yeah, that's right. You can like go up
There's a tower
to
at
like
the
a higher
top.
room. Yeah.
yeah.
So eventually I figured it out, and I was like,
I did
"Oh."
go in and to the castle, and I was like, nobody's in here. Like
Just
I went
imagine
to
you going back to like poke his body and be like, "Excuse me, sir.
Excuse me, I have questions.
Did you say
I
that
mean,
again?"
He can communicate with you telepathically. Why can't he communicate you from
Yeah,
the dead?
right.
Like whatever.
Yeah. Well, I think
And
that's
he
a
does,
different guy that
doesn't he?
dies.
I think that's a
It's
different.
yeah, than the guy
it's
who
a different
talks to
him.
you. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Like there's
Wait, does it?
Sasa whatever, and then there's like the
Sarala.
unnamed sage that helps you with Zelda at the beginning.
Oh, yes,
Oh,
yes. Salsa.
Oh, you might be right.
Do you call him salsa?
It's like Sahasrara or something, but
I think you're
Yeah.
right. There's multiple H's and R's and
Yeah.
S's.
Yeah.
Did you ever use the fortune teller?
I
Yeah.
did. I did use the fortune teller a couple times as
It'd be like,
well.
I have a feeling that you're going to
Oh,
go
yeah, I
to
forgot,
this
but-
dungeon. And you're like, okay, I see
Yeah.
what I'm supposed to do. Which I thought was funny.
Oh, a few times he was like, I have a feeling you're going to pick up this piece of
Yeah.
heart. I was like, okay, I'll go do that and see what he has to say. then." Oh, yeah, I didn't even bother. Like, if you talk to him multiple times, does he give you something different?
No, I think he heals you every time, though. So you pay him,
Oh.
he tells you something about what you're supposed to do. And then...
I just did it once to see if it's what I thought it would be, which is like a hint system.
Yeah.
And it actually worked out because I like talked to him and he was like, I see you going in the desert or whatever. And then like I went and like finished doing something and then I was like, I guess I should go to the desert one next.
Yeah. I don't remember. I used him, I think, during the beginning to see, like, I was like, I'm pretty sure this is, like, he's going to tell me what to do.
Yeah.
But then I tried to use him, I think, for, like, when I was trying to get into the Dark Woods dungeon or whatever. Like, I tried to use him again later and it wasn't as helpful, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But
Yeah.
I think he's supposed to heal you, too, because you pay,
well, yeah. The reason that is because you're just supposed to walk over a pitfall. That's why he wasn't helpful, is he doesn't tell you that.
He's like, have you tried not dying?
Of your yeah, exactly. Because of your message, I was like, well, I better transition to doing research now because there's no way. If Cosm struggled with this dungeon, there's no way I can do it in like 3 days or 2 days.
Oh, so I was looking through my notes, and there's one more thing that I wanted to add that will lighten your day, maybe.
Okay.
So, in the game, there's a lot of little mini games, things that you can do to, like, earn some extra rubies or something like that. One of them is a gambling game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if you noticed, but he's like, he tells you the rules or whatever, and it's like, do you want to play? And your options are play or escape. And I thought that was just
I'm pretty sure.
hilarious.
Oh, it was I turned down the arrow shooting game, the shooting gallery game, because I just was lazy and I didn't want to do it.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like, run away from your impending gambling
Oh.
addiction.
Yes.
I save scummed that mini game to see what happens if you get a perfect score, and it's just rubies.
Yeah, I mean, that's not shocking.
Yeah. So, well, sometimes you get a perfect score and they give you a heart
True,
piece.
that could have been.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I utilized the gambling game like a lot in Legend of Zelda, like in the first one, because you can only have 250 rupees at a time. And I remember that I
Yeah.
needed it for something. So I would just go there and then I would quick save before going in. And then if I picked the wrong one, I would just reload the quick save and pick the right one. Because I'm an asshole. But it was
Yeah.
helpful because, like, at least in this game, you can carry like way more. Like I never felt
Yeah.
like I ran out of money because like I would get so much because I died all the time. But you save all your money, so like then I'd be like, oh, I can go buy new potions, or like I can go
Yeah,
buy
there's so many
500
rupees and not
rupee
enough heart
things.
drops.
There were
Yeah.
or not enough fairies.
Oh,
Be like, I'm
yeah.
gonna pick up this
Yeah.
pot. Damn it, it's more rupees.
Yeah, or arrows.
Yep.
Like you can, if you have the arrow and bomb enhancements, like yeah, it's useful. But like I didn't, and so I'd be like, I don't need more arrows right now. Like I just need hearts. I'm trying to go to this
Yup.
boss.
I didn't. Arrows wind up being pretty powerful in later games, but they were just kind of there. Like you needed them for like specific puzzles and enemies, but
But then there were a lot of enemies where it's like you must hit this enemy with the sword, and it's like,
Yeah.
what am I even carrying this other crap for? Like I don't know. Yeah. So
like I was like,
like you
yeah,
have
arrows
to
when we
fight
got them
Ganon with the
because
sword.
they're
I think.
you're usually strong, but
Or a net.
Oh, I was really excited when I figured out, or like I had to Google how to catch fairies because I was like, if I use this bottle, I should be able to like catch them, right? But but you have to get the like net from the kid to catch them. But then
Yeah, I
it
got
was
the net
super
before I ran into a fairy, and it was like, you can use it to catch bugs or other things. And I was like, okay, that's how you catch fairies.
Well, you can use it to catch the bees. Did you ever
Yeah.
run into the
Yeah.
bees? Yeah, you can use it to catch the death bees and use those on your enemies too, apparently, which I didn't do, but that sounds really funny to me. But yeah, I used it to catch fairies as frequently as I possibly could. The fall down dungeon, I can't remember the one where you have to fall through things the first time. It had like a really good fairy room.
The
that I would
Tower
go
of
to a
Terror.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Tower of Terror
that's
with
the
the
one.
like
The Tower of that worm
thing.
guy.
When I saw the worms, I was like, "That's like, no, it's not very threatening," but they like really fuck you up too. Even the little ones are really hard to aim at.
Yeah.
And yeah, that one was really annoying.
Yeah, I finally beat him by just charging through him multiple times back and forth.
I just stayed on the back wall, and then like I just like avoided him, and I was just like wait for him to come back so I could hit his tail or like chased around. Because
he
didn't
kept just
really, like,
smashing into me
attack
with his head
you.
when I tried doing that.
I'm just shaking my head.
So I finally was like, all right, and just charged through him back and forth and like top to bottom a few times. And then he turned to grayscale, and I was like, finally.
Yes, I can escape this place so I don't have to fall down off this.
Yeah, I
stupid
literally had to put the
dungeon.
game down for like 2 days before I could pick it up again and try beating him because I was so frustrated.
It definitely took me at least 2 nights of trying to play just from falling, because it's like, yeah, like the problem isn't like. The
He's not
problem is that
hard.
it's not
He
hard,
just
but it resets every
Knocks
time.
you down and resets his damage.
Yeah. I feel like it just shouldn't reset his damage.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay to knock me down, and it's like kind of
It's
annoying
like
for
I
me
was
to
down
come
here
back,
for
but-
like 30 seconds. He didn't
Yeah,
recover.
how did he heal? Does he have his own fairies up there that he's like not
Yeah.
using? Like, what the hell? Yeah, seriously. So, yeah, that was annoying. The problem was just the resetting, not the actual. Like, if you hit his tail and whatever, it was fine. But it's just that it resets so often that it was such a pain in the ass. It's my rant about that guy. Everyone who's played this game knows who we're talking about.
Yeah.
Because I was looking at posts on Reddit about people's opinion about this game because I always think it's kind of interesting. But someone posted this comment that was like, "Link to the Past Nightmare Fuel," and it was just a screenshot of that boss. It's like, I agree. So overall fun, some annoying bosses. I think it has like general SNES annoyance, I guess. Like, I think that's just like the theme. Like, that's just how games were, I kind of feel
Yeah,
like.
it's just like all the annoyances are annoyances that like every game in that time had.
Yeah, there's just a lot of like things you have to do. You go into a game like that expecting to do things over and over again. At least I do, and expecting to die a lot. You know, you just have to accept that death is a part of video game life,
Yes.
I guess. You know,
But definitely the
it's a circle of
Zelda-iest
life.
Zelda game we've played so far.
Yeah, and it was fun, and the concepts, the mythology was fun. The story was like interesting in Zelda-y, with some plot holes question mark. But
The duck is the biggest plot hole.
yeah, really, what the hell? Yeah, how did he get to the Dark World? Seriously, the magic flute wasn't that magical, was it? It's an ocarina that can transcends worlds.
It's like you played
yeah.
this song of duck magic.
Doodaloo, doodaloo. Also, the first time you play it, it plays for like 2 minutes, which was
I know,
really
it's
funny.
such a long song.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I can only listen to like, fake ocarina noise for so long. Yeah, it was really funny.
I was expecting the like 3-note warp that you usually have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do like, I'm really excited for later games where like musical instruments are like more of a thing because it's such a thing that I like and identify with in Zelda games. So, but yeah, it's fun. The ones we've seen so far have been fun. Anyway, yeah, and it was the most Zelda game we played so far, I think. And I'm excited for Link's Awakening, which is what we're going to talk about next time. Yay. So join us next time for that, which will be August 1st. Wait. Yeah, August 1st. I had to count.
No, wait. Yeah, because the first one's coming out
Oh.
June 1st.
Yeah, and then this one comes out July 1st. I forgot we were in episode 2. That's why I
Yeah.
struggled. August 1st. Join us for that. And remember to touch the Triforce with a wish in your heart.
Wish for ice cream.
It can be a naughty wish, but it gotta be
No.
strong.
As long as it's strong. The Triforce don't care. The Triforce don't judge if you have a naughty wish or not a naughty wish.
The Triforce doesn't kink shame.
Oh, I just meant like Ganon had a naughty wish.
No, I definitely interpreted it the same way as Kayla.
That is not where I was going with that.
It's like Link enters the bondage world.
It's like, yes.
I do like the continuing, or like the same concept that runs through all the games where you're getting like yelled at by all these people telepathically or whatever to do stuff, and you're like, I'm gonna go slash this bush. And
Yeah.
so yeah. Anyway, as long as it's a strong wish, it doesn't matter what it is. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Yes, we will.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Like post-record, during record,
Official banter.
end recording, like en route, like on recording banter. Yeah, sure.
It's off to a good start.
I'm glad that this is preserved for all time. What I just said.
Hyrule healed and was peaceful and prosperous for many centuries, until suddenly a new wave of disasters began to strike the land once again.
Do you think that his wish was for good or evil?
I don't know, he just killed a bunch of people to get it. I'm sure it was good.
Well, I meant Bowie, but yes.
Oh, Bowie's is definitely evil. I didn't think that was even a question.
He's like, I wish for seeds.
Yeah. It's like everything I touch should turn to seed. It's not time yet. Wait
Wait
for
for spirit
tracks.
tracks.